Oh, hello. If you're watching this, it's because you're completely bored or insane. Good luck finding out which one. No, JK. Hi. Howdy from Las Vegas. It's your girl, Buddha in the Crucible. Coming at you pre-recorded, but just now, like I'm gonna record it and then upload it as long as I don't screw it up. I got my little vape thing with me that I told you about in the other video, so don't mind me if I need to. Have a puff. I don't know, did I have something sugary this morning? Oh yeah, I had the coffee. Anyway, it's the weekend in Las Vegas. Hopefully you are doing whatever you wanted to do, where you're in the driver's seat. Like hopefully you're choosing to work because it's um, just what you need to do, or it's what you like doing, or whatever, or if you have the day off, hopefully you're enjoying, or if you're chillaxing, whatever's going on. If times are tough, hopefully you are not giving in to the illusion of suffering, and you are definitely choosing victory even in the face of defeat. And I mean that, I'm rooting for you. I know, right? Like, it's not everybody is having just a mundane, regular Sunday. Or maybe you have some stuff going on that you're just looking for a distraction from. And that's cool. You can listen to me babble anytime. And we are rooting for you. I'm Buddhist, so I definitely chant Nam-myo Renge Kyo for all your victories in life, and for you to be absolutely happy, whatever that looks like. So anyway, some of you, thanks for the 8 subscribers, by the way, again. Some of you did let me know that you liked the Ex-Mechanica story, so I just have a couple more card tales for y'all today. I'm going to get right into it. The first one I'm going to tell you is just, another example of me having a lack of compassion and being like a hypocritical Buddhist. But I had this friend, and he was, he liked to flip cars, and he was a proper mechanic. Like, he worked for a dealership and all this kind of stuff. And but he was I don't know, I guess you could say he was eccentric. And right, like he had a couple of low-key closet kinks, but he reminded me of like the mechanic version of Dexter, which he's not the only one, but he was creepy like that, in the sense of and to me creepy is not, I'm not saying like a creep, but like he was ominous, he had that Dexter vibe, but he was also like hella insecure and stuff too. So I don't know. Well, he's a Gemini, so maybe it's like, if you believe in that sort of thing, maybe there were just two sides of his personality: the kind of like strong, dark, quiet, like murky guy, and then like this insecure kind of like, right, childlike, forever child, kind of like bratty, insecure little boy. But anyway, so he would flip the cars. So he was, he would fix them up or whatever, buy them cheap, and then fix them up and be able to sell them, privately or whatever. And but he had his daily driver, and he liked to save money, and he was very like by the books and responsible. But work hard, play hard. He was like obsessed with being responsible. But like I said, he had some kinks to him, and this is another one that kind of had like some flamboyant kinks. And he was into he really seemed to be attracted to any kind of transsexual part of the spectrum. He loved the superficial lifestyle. He had family in Cali. I'm just saying that to maybe that it's cultural, that he kind of grew up with this very like Hollywood LA aesthetic, and he was like kind of really all about that for women. But then he had some kind of weirdness with himself too. So anyway, you know, and I'm not saying it in a judgmental way. I'm just giving you some background. So, but we had some kind of weird relationship, and I would be over there a lot, and he had this big old school, like, I don't know, some kind of old school, like, Ford sedan. So it was like a big tank boat style sedan, from like the 70s. I want to keep it vague on purpose. And anyway, so he had to back it down this like narrow driveway, and a little, you know, the bumper was, you know, it's still that big old school heavy metal, but it kind of like stuck out a little bit on one side, just a little bit, but that was enough that when, as he was backing the car down this narrow drive, he ended up clipping it, and I think he ended up like, because I was trying to, okay, I'm not telling the story right already. I was trying to guide him in, and he was kind of acting frustrated, and like he didn't want to have to pay attention to me guiding, you know, trying to cue him to not take out the whole side of the back of the car like he did. So he just kind of wanted to do it his own way, and, you know, backing down kind of reckless, and he ended up taking off the side of the bumper to the car. Sorry. It's probably not even that funny, but you know how like somebody tries to like sass you and then they walk away and play themselves, you know? So he's like, I can do it myself. And he like goes back up and it goes clip. And you know, he's still going down the drive because he has to. And you look at the bumper there. And oh my God, like and then he came out with his mouth like, oh, I can't even do it because I'm laughing. He goes out with the shocked face, you know, like he can't believe he just did that, right? Like, yeah, dumbass, you know. And I am like rolling. I'm like just laughing out loud, like just laughing. And you know, he comes out and he's like, you know, and like staring at the bumper on the ground. And you know, he's just like looking, and then he looks up at me, and I'm just like I'm laughing like, yeah, like that's what you get. Yo, he ended up getting pissed at me for laughing, like level 11 mad. He was like broiling mad, like couldn't even talk to me, like kind of on some, I think he did say like, I think you should go, you know, I'm gonna take some time to myself and think, you know, and maybe he just really did want to be left alone, and he had just ripped the bumper off the back of his car, which he didn't like unanticipated disorder, so so he was upset, and me laughing about it was just like not the thing to do, so he was like beyond pissed, and anyway, as you can see, I still thought it was, I'm not saying that's right, but I still think it's hilarious just because, like, he had just got done telling me that he can do it himself. And then when he came out and had the shock face, like, sorry, that's the demon in me. I feed off of like male misery, I guess is the best way to say it. I just, you know, him coming out like that was just too, you know, the demon in me just like, you know, drinks it in a wine glass, you know, and that's what I'm working on. Don't judge me. Don't judge me. Well, you can, but you know, that's my karma that I'm working out. So anyway, I thought it was hilarious, but that didn't make it right. So The moral of the story is let somebody help you back down the drive. Ripped off. Okay, okay, okay. Alright, and then I said I was going to tell you guys about. Okay, sorry, I wrote it down so I don't forget because this is the third time I've filmed this because I thought of the topics and then, right, 420 moment. So, the next one I was going to tell you about is when I got out of the military, I ended up going to tech school for cars, and I went to paint and body school at night. And it was a little bit of a drive, you know, this was like a little commute, and this is out in the tri-state area. I won't tell you which tri of the state, but tri-state, which state of the tri, sorry. But it's the tri-state area, some of you might already know. But just to keep it vague, could be any of the tri-states tech schools. So anyway, this is for paint and body work, and I was just going there and I really, again, like, this is my young 20s, so I'm really into being a C word. I like being a proud, mean girl, you know. I liked being mean to guys at the time, and, you know, I had a chip on my shoulder. You know, I'm not making an excuse, but, you know, after the military, it was just really easy for me to hate guys, and I was hateful because, you know, I had encountered some rough patches in the military, and I was holding all men accountable for that. And you know, I'm not, and not at all have I swung completely in the opposite direction to say, oh, I realized the error of my ways, and Eve did convince Adam to eat the apple, so we're bad. No, I'm saying that I at least take responsibility for unwarranted, you know, just negative behavior in general, regardless of gender. So, sexy. Excuse me. So, I'm doing my thing, going to school. I really just like to be in my zone. If you even ask me, if you even ask me what time it was, I will be rude to you. If you were a guy, like a fellow student, I didn't want to engage. I didn't want to be, you know, cool. I didn't want you acting like you were my friend or like you knew me. I was mean. So, most people just stayed out of my way. Didn't, you know, either my attitude put a bad taste in their mouth and it wasn't worth their time, right? Like, I'm not saying, oh, because I was the baddest bee. I'm saying that I wanted you to leave me alone, because I wasn't there to be your friend, and I didn't want to be caught up in none of whatever little stupid shenanigans you probably had. That was my attitude. That was my mindset. So, I was doing my thing, you know, I would mostly only talk to the teachers, again, because that was, you know, to let the guys know, like, I don't know you. We might be here doing our thing at school, but I don't know you, and I don't want to know you. So, you know, and people would say I was a B or a C or elemental P, whatever. And that was, right, that was the trade-off, whatever, because as long as you just left me the F alone. Well, one day the dean of the school comes and gets me, like, during a break or whatever, and he says, you know, how are you liking everything? Because I hadn't really talked to him, and I'm like, everything's great. What can I do for you? And he's like, oh, well, there's somebody, he's not in your class, but he claims that you, when you guys go to break, you know, because that's when he sees you, that you, like, bump into him if they're passing in their doorway, or that you're staring him down. And, you know, we're just trying to get both sides of the story because, you know, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, what? And he's, you know, I said, can you tell me who it is? And he's like, no, we're just leaving it. You know, we're trying to get both sides of the story. I said, well, I don't really know what story this person's trying to create. I said, but, you know, my teachers will vouch for me that I pride myself in not talking to any of your students. I said, I'm an adult, I'm a veteran. Yes, I would throw that card around like a cheap date. I'm a veteran, and so, you know, I don't have time. Like, I was trying to tell him, it's insulting to me that you would imply that I'm making time to, like, harass or stalk any of these, like, boys that you have running around on financial aid in here. Give me a break. Like, that was my attitude. Is like, how dare you accuse me, not because it's not because like, oh my god, like I wouldn't do that as a person, which I wouldn't, but I none of these guys are important enough to me for me to like go out of my way to stare you down and like bump into you in the hallway or like block the hallway. I said I have my music on 90% of the time. I said, unless an instructor is talking, I have my music on and I mind my business. I said, I work during the day so that I can pay for this school at night, and all I want to know now is if I need to get a lawyer. And he was like, again, my ego like drinks that up. So he's like, excuse me, I'm sorry. He's like very apologetic. I never found out who the person was. And I turned, and I made sure to not to leave before I flipped the tables on him. I said, so it seems to me that somebody is actually, stalking my movements and my schedule. I said, I don't even associate with anybody outside of the class, and the ones that I do talk to, it's as needed, nothing beyond what is necessary. I said, so again, if I need to get a lawyer involved, if we're going to escalate this into some kind of substantial allegation, then please just let me know. But beyond that, I don't have the time to entertain the delusional ravings of one of your students that I don't even know, nor do I have a class with. It's a baseless allegation. So, I'm sorry that he's pretty much wasting everybody's time right now. So you let me know what we're doing next. And he was like, oh, and of course I'm like, yeah, that's right. Mic drop, bitch. So, right, like, I never found out who it was. Nobody ever, of course then I like looked around to see if anybody was like glaring at me any more than usual. But by then I have been rude to so many people that it was like anybody could have had an axe to grind with me by then. So I never found out who it was. He told me that it wasn't a person in my class. So again, like, I didn't, that was, for once, being a mean girl had actually paid off, because anybody could tell you I prided myself on not talking to anybody there. So that's why I was like, well, how was I going to have time to hate somebody, to make time to like bump into them and all these like crazy things this person was saying. And I was like, I don't know who the student is you have that is like so obsessed with me, but that's all it is, at the time, right? Like, of course, I was willing to go there. If you were trying to, put me on the chopping block for some strange reason, I was willing to go there. Because I wanted you to know I didn't care enough about you to be negative towards you. That was why I didn't want to fight with you, because I don't care about you. So even though that might at least bring out a good result of not being petty and dragging it out, to me, it wasn't a mindset that I want to continue having, as far as not caring about people, as though I just have no compassion for them at all, like, wouldn't break for them in the street kind of attitude. That was what I wanted to drop. Okay, and then the last story that I wrote down to tell you is, I told you guys I like going to the Speedway and the Vegas Speedway. I like going to the Bull Ring, because they have this division called the NASCAR Bombers, and they can't go very fast, and the ring is very small, but they are allowed to hit each other as they race, more or less, or at least when I was going there, because I haven't been there in a little while. But right, that's my favorite thing to watch. So anyway, me and a friend. She had a boyfriend who was in the Bombers at the time, and this is many years ago. So don't try to like dig as though you care enough about this story to dig. But the point is, right, it's many years ago, so not recent. And this was her boyfriend at the time, and we had gone to some kind of event at the Speedway, but I don't think it was the Bombers that night. I don't remember, but we ended up staying. We went, and then like after the event, we like went and got some food, and like we were drinking, and we like went somewhere else. And my friend was like, well, we're gonna go. Before we did all this, she was like, we're gonna, we're gonna go eat or whatever. Why don't you just ride in the car with me? And I'm like, no, I'm funny because I am funny about that. Like, I don't have a car right now. I need to get one since I just moved back recently to Vegas. But, I like to have a car because you can leave when you want. You don't have to worry about, and I'm not trying to act ungrateful for people who have picked me up. I super appreciate you. But I'm saying there's something to be said for just the luxury of the freedom of being able to leave when you're ready to go and have your own vehicle. Hopefully it's reliable to get you where you want to go. If that's home or the next spot, it doesn't matter, but you get to be on your terms. You get to be in control. So anyway, I was like, oh, I'm not feeling that. And, she was like kind of known for getting us into shenanigans that made me feel like I was being held hostage. Because it was just, she doesn't know, and drama magnet. We had some fun times though. So, anyway, she had this boyfriend. I had met him, but it was just kind of like cordially. And he kind of was one of those guys that's like kind of, I guess, maybe like a casual racist, just like a redneck. Is that okay? If he says he is, because I think he said it. But anyway, it just, that kind of flow. Where maybe he's not like an aggressive racist, but he probably like he could get down with a joke. And then my friend kind of like more or less mentioned to me that he was, not necessarily POC friendly. But your girl's the racist whisperer, so honestly, like, I don't want to sound arrogant, but I wasn't like afraid, to at least test kind of like pulse check to see if we could at least be civil to each other, since we had a mutual friend, and she was not. I said, I said, apparently you're comfortable enough to have us both in the same space on the same day with you. So if you're saying that he's not aggressive, then it's really up to you. Like, I'm not at the time it wasn't a deal breaker for me. So because I was used to that, and like I said, whatever, at the time that was my mindset. So and I wasn't going to go out of my way to make extra conversation or be confrontational with him, as long as he didn't pop off. That didn't mean like, oh, hey Aunt Jemima. Like, that didn't mean like, oh, I was going to tolerate his racism. I was saying that if he was keeping that to himself and wasn't being blatant, then we could keep it cool. So that's how I felt at the time. So we went and we hung out or whatever, and she was like, oh, just come with me in my car, and he's going to he has to go do something with his friends. And I don't know, I think it ended up getting weird. And so, but I finally reluctantly agreed, but we ended up running long, and a few hours went by and blah, blah, blah. I said, okay, come on, let's go back to the parking lot to get my car. Okay, finally get her to come back around. So we go back to the parking lot at the Speedway because we are going to get something to eat and drinks and whatever else. And then, we go over to where I thought I parked, because it's like a big, huge parking lot, with letters and all this kind of stuff. So I went where I thought, and then they have multiple speedways. So I went where I thought I parked the car. The car's not there. So now I'm like, oh my God, right, of course, like that freak out. And then, right, like we had been drinking earlier, and I'm like just tired, and the last thing anybody wants to come out to is no car where there should be car. So I'm like, oh my God, where's my car? I don't know what to do, blah, blah, blah. So I ended up calling, like not 911, but like the emergency line to see like which cars have been, some kind of toll line. I forget exactly what it was, but they said they didn't have it. And I'm like, oh my God, well, what if my car was stolen? And then like there was like some glass over there, like just randomly in the parking lot, and now I'm not sure if I parked there. We're kind of like wandering around. So her boyfriend finally meets up, and I'm not really talking to him because, again, like, I'm not gonna, there's just, again, I'm not trying to like find out. I can just be indifferent towards you. I grew up around that. So anyway, So he's talking to, and he is mainly talking to her. He's not really talking to me. So I'm like, that's fine, because as long as we're not being aggressive, if that's what you need to do to be civil, then by all means, that's fine. So he's talking to her, and he's like, oh, I'm ready to go. What are you doing? And she's like, oh, I don't know. We can't find Sony's car. And so he looks over at me, and he's like, oh, did they tow it? Longer story short, he hops in his car because he was part of one of the NASCAR divisions. So I guess he knew that sometimes they tow the cars and bring them all over to a certain spot. So I think he hopped in his truck or whatever and went over. Yeah, and went over to check. He said, "Hold on, I'm gonna go check something. Let me see your keys." To me, because I have my car keys, and I'm like, it's like awkward because I really want my car. He's not really explaining anything, but he does not work there, but he goes there to know kind of what's going on. And but right, like, he's never really talked to me before. We've seen each other cordially, but we never had to have like extended dialogue or anything. And he's like, I'm gonna go check over here. Let me see your keys. And he had, I guess he must have had his friend with him, because I can't remember, because I know it was like far away, and I don't want to assume he walked over there, because it was like I couldn't see my car from where we were standing. So I guess I don't remember if he went with somebody or what, but the point is he asked me for my keys, and he said, here, give me your keys, and I'm like, I just, following my gut. I'm like, okay, well, there's accountability here. I mean, she knows where he lives if it gets weird, and we can, do something. Like, it won't be just like, oh, he stole my car and moved to Mexico. So I give him my keys, because I'm like, well, I don't see my car anyway. And I kind of like don't really think we're going to, wherever it got towed, I don't think it's here. So we wait a few minutes, and I'm standing there with my friend, and suddenly I hear a car coming up, and right, it's him in my car. And he pulls. It's got a turbo. It had a turbo. So he pulls out kind of like rough. Again, he races, but this is like my daily driver, but it had a turbo. So he like pulls up kind of rough, but he pulls up nonetheless and hops out of the car. And I'm staring at the car like, oh shit, he found it. He said, oh yeah, they towed it over there, so I just got it from the guy or whatever. That's what they do. They just tow you and move you over there to this little section or whatever. Told you I'd find it, and proceeds to put his arm around me like we're side to shoulder here, and he throws his arm around me and pulls me close, and he's like, oh, I told you I'd find it, and he like gives me like this side hug thing, and I like go stiff as a board. I'm like, because I'm already funny about hugging, but right, like he completely, that one was like a racist whisperer script flip, because he was just being nice to me, like, even though, right, she made it clear that he was like, I'm not saying he burns crosses on the weekends, but he was like not into black culture. He was not like okay with, he had his little stuff with him. So for him to be like, putting his arm around me and like being all friendly, and he was like all happy that he had saved the day, because I was super grateful because I wanted my car. So yeah, it was just crazy that he ended up finding the car, like bothering to go get it. There wasn't anything in it for him to go check. He could have just said F us and went, because he wasn't. And I mean, I'm not trying to throw shade, but I'm saying like he was, everyone in that little, whoever knew him, their like clique or group or whatever, he was like unknown. Like he had a temper. He was kind of like rude. He was known to be rude. This kind of stuff to people, like as he pleased, I guess. And and again, he mostly just ignored me when we did see each other. That was usually just in passing. I would be there to watch the Bombers, and then she was there, and her man was in one of the other NASCAR the situations for the night on the lineup. So we would, you know, and then we were friends. So we like to go. And most of, you know, so I might see him here or there from that, like just us going there. But and again, like he was never rude to me, but she just kind of warned me that, you know, it was like that or whatever. So like for him to be acting this way, and she was shocked too, as I remember that we were both like, what is going on? But she kind of like laughed, like, oh, what, you thought he would just what, like not gonna care? I said, yeah, well, between him either being low key racist and just being a hateful man in general, you know, it wasn't going to surprise me that he was going to say, oh, well, not my problem, and just go home, or y'all, you know, you guys go do what you're going to do. So, so right, like that ended up working out, but it was like by the least likely angel, and it just goes to show you, even if he is an angel from hell, I was very fortunate to bring out his Buddha nature. Like he, in his personal life, he might normally be this hateful guy, he might be normally this racist guy, but at this particular moment, he was nice enough to go find my car, bring it back to me, you know, and then give me this weird, you know, super strong hug, like, you know, and I don't think he was drunk, I don't know, but I mean, you know, again, like he kind of went the extra mile, and I was super appreciative. So, you know, that's something I say, you know, maybe they're not racist, but they're case by cases or whatever. And I'm not making an excuse for a racist, but, you know, it was just nice that at that time he was, you know, being nice. So that's what happened. That was our speedway adventure, which really had nothing to do with the speedway at all. It was me just parking in the wrong spot and getting towed. But anyway, yeah. So those are my stories for today. I told you everything, right? I told you about the right. I told you those 3 stories, and I said I wanted to keep it. Oh, God, we're only at like about to be 32. So again, I hope you're having a great weekend. That you're doing whatever it is that you want to do. And please be safe and take care. Nam yo harenge kyo.